Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. Happy Monday. So as you guys know, I was off for the last couple of days. Took a trip down to the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. Had a fantastic time with the family, but a lot of shenanigans were going on over the weekend with Bitcoin, and then obviously today with Cleanspark news. So we'll talk about that, what's going on there. I'm trying to catch up a little bit here. We also have, what do we have? CORZ Scientific. We're going to look at their quarterly results along with their production update. Well, not really production update, their production for July as well. We also have Cango news as well. They're transitioning from an asset light to more of an asset heavy site. And we have Gamara news as well. They're getting into HPC AI potentially. We'll talk about that. And then we'll get into how the miners did this past week against Bitcoin and Q&A. And I think that'll be it for today. I'm still trying to catch up with other things. I saw that TerraWolf reported their quarterly results as well. What else do we have? I think that's it that I missed out since I was gone. Okay, but we'll get into all that. As always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Greatly appreciate you guys, for all you guys and gals for coming in here tonight. And let's take a look at what we got going on here with Bitcoin right now. Oh, let me get my stuff set up. Stuff switched around on me. All right, here we go. We are going here to Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin miners, see how they did today as far as the markets are concerned. Bitcoin, like I said, had a wild ride. The bears definitely took over. And funny enough, while we were in the Smokies in Tennessee, we had the privilege of seeing the little black bears rolling by our house that we were renting for the weekend. So they were pretty active out there. We saw them a number of times. So the bears were active, and the bears were active here on Monday in the markets as well. Bitcoin obviously had a huge day yesterday. Well, it looked like a huge day was going to be, but then it came back down. But on Saturday, we were up nicely. We were up 2.42% on Bitcoin. It closed at 119,309. Sunday, we rocketed all the way up to 122,319, and then we fell down and actually closed in the red. Right? What happens on Monday? Well, usually when Bitcoin does rally like it does over the weekend, the powers that be, the market movers, the market makers, will definitely pull Bitcoin down because now, again, we have a little bit of a gap on the CME futures here. Right now, which is right between like 118,400 and right around 119,000. So we got a gap there. It's a very, very small gap. You can barely see it, but it's in here. It's just a little gap there that we have right now on the CME futures, and that likes to get filled. So I'm hoping it gets filled quickly, like within the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll see where we do end up at. But man, it was a nice pump on Bitcoin here on Sunday. And then things kind of went down there. It was actually pumping right around the time that I and Ernest were on Spaces on X. We had an interview with Tyler Page from Cypher there, the CEO. That was a great conversation. You guys should definitely check it out if you haven't. Also, Mike Alfred joined there. Others joined as well in the conversation, which was really good. And we talked about a bunch of things there. So if you guys haven't had a chance, definitely check that out. But Bitcoin right now on the new day, it looks like it's up a little bit here. We're up just 0.41%. Bitcoin was down on Monday, approximately 0.51%. So we are still hovering right around that 119,000 mark, which is acting like pretty good support here, maybe more resistance. We'll have to wait and see on it. Ethereum was up also nicely in the new hours here. It was down on the weekend, both on Saturday and on Sunday. It's up today. For Tuesday, it's up a little bit here, about 2% there. Markets were in the red today as it was. Miners were kind of mixed here all over the place. Bitfarms ended up being down actually 0.81%. Bitdeer being up 1.75%. That one had a nice run up as well in price and came down. I think a lot of these guys did that. I was driving today for about 10 hours, so I had a hard time tracking all the stuff that's going on here. So I'm kind of catching up with you guys as well. CANG was down 1.61%. Cypher was up just a little bit here, 0.21%. Cleanspark was down another 1.99% after being down Thursday and Friday of last week. We'll talk about obviously Cleanspark here in a second. CORZ was up just a little bit here, 0.83%. Hive was up 2.42%. Hut 8 was up 5.73%. IREN was down 2.6% after being up nicely and then coming back down. Mara was up a little bit at 1.82%. Riot up just a little bit, 0.27%. And Wolf was up 7.36%. I believe that they reported their quarterly results. I have to look at those. And maybe I'll pull in the numbers that I have for them from the last quarter results that we do have for them, and we'll compare how things look. I should have the spreadsheets for those someplace, so I'll see if I can put that in. All right, Bitcoin Treasury companies here, mixed all over the place here as well. We're not going to get too much into these guys tonight. You guys can obviously see those. The small miners were also mostly down, except for Annie and Mawson were up just a little bit here. Bitcoin miner ETFs were actually in the green here, just a little bit, less than 1% for most of these guys. Ethereum Treasury holding companies. BitDigital was up 0.33%. BTCS was down 8%. BMNR was up 14.68%. That one's starting to come back up here a little bit. Game was down just a little bit, 0.91%, and SBAT was down 6.63%. Bitcoin dominance was going up over the weekend here. It looks like, well, at least on Sunday. Saturday we were down, Sunday we were up, and then Monday we were up as well, but we're down in the new day a little bit on that one. Okay, we're not going to go look at the miner prices right now because I just have too much to get into with you guys. You guys can look at where the miners are right now, trading in the after hours or pre-hours markets. On that, Bitcoin here for the month of August is still up 2.46%, so at least we're green, which is nice. But definitely like to have seen that go up even more. And it was up nicer when Bitcoin was at 22,000 or something like that. But we'll get there eventually. It's just going to be a bumpy ride here. Bitcoin ETF inflows here. We saw nice inflows on Friday. IBIT bought 360 million, that is. And we had a total inflows of 403 million. Today we had 39 million inflows. Waiting on IBIT to report. I'm sure it's going to be positive there, or at least I would think it would be positive. But we will see. It might be actually negative. It might bring it down. So we'll see. But let's get into the stories that we do have here. Obviously, the big one that everyone's talking about is Cleanspark, right? Cleanspark appoints a new CEO. But is he really a new CEO? He's been a CEO before. So Cleanspark appoints Matt Schultz, CEO. Board accepts Zachary Bradford's resignation as Chief Executive Officer and Director of Cleanspark. I read through this. There's one part of it that makes me think that he was maybe ousted. Maybe. I'm not sure on that. That's just my speculation on it based on the wording that was used there. We'll get into that wording part of it there. But right now, they have named Matt Schultz, co-founder, executive chairman, and former CEO of Cleanspark as CEO, effective immediately following the resignation of Zachary Bradford as an officer and director of the company. So both, right? So why would he resignate from his position there where he's making a lot of money? Could be personal reasons, right? Could be where he has made enough money now, and with the resignation, he gets another year of basically salary, compensation, RSUs, all that stuff, which totals about like 28 million potentially, somewhere around there. So he's going to be making money on that way. So he could be just like, the heck with this, I'm done. I've made my millions. I can retire, spend the time with my family, and maybe become an angel investor or something like that, whatever he wants to do with the cash that he's got remaining. Could be that, or it could be also that we have maybe had some strife at the board there with the management, right? So maybe the board wanted to go in another direction or expand the direction the company was going in, right? Instead of being only Bitcoin mining site, maybe the board also was thinking that they should get into HPC-AI, right? We're seeing everybody else and their uncle getting into it. So, and they're getting rewarded for it. So maybe that was a little tension there between them. And maybe Matt, I'm saying maybe, I don't know this for a fact, maybe Matt was more open to the possibility of going into HPC-AI. That's a possibility there. The other possibility was the stock performance hasn't been great, right? So, but that would have been more of a termination, I think, if they weren't happy with it. They could have probably just terminated him instead of having him resign here. So I don't know. Just a couple of things that are flowing around my head right now, at least from what I read here. Schultz also founded the Cleanspark and previously served as CEO and is currently executive chairman, right? So he was the CEO from, I believe, 2014 to like 2019. And then Zach is actually the one that's, I think, credited with having the company transition to a Bitcoin miner. I think he's the one that brought it to Matt and the board there, and that's how they transitioned it. So I think it's all, so we got to be thankful for Zach to having the foresight to do that. Obviously, they grew the company tremendously here. It's valued over $3 billion now as it is, compared to where it was. It's a huge achievement for them. Yes, there was a lot of dilution and everything else, but they did definitely grow the company to be one of the largest Bitcoin miners publicly listed. So he did contribute tremendously to that as well. Let's see. Continuing on here on Schultz, he originally led the company's growth and energy sector and was instrumental in raising billions in capital to fuel the growth of the company in Bitcoin mining business. His leadership has been critical in making Cleanspark one of the largest and most recognizable Bitcoin mining companies in North America, which is true. As a founder who has always been actively involved, I care deeply about the company, our people, and our mission, said Schultz, Matt there. I've had the pleasure to talk with Matt a couple times in the past, probably year and a half or so. Very knowledgeable, he knows what he's talking about. He's definitely in the weeds on when it comes to Bitcoin mining and all that stuff. And he's been very, very open as much as he can be about what he sees happening with not only Bitcoin mining, their operations and things like that, but he's also been very active in the community, I think, more so than Zach has. Zach has been a little bit more hands-off when it comes to dealing with the community on X, whereas Matt has participated in spaces. He, tweets or X posts, I guess you could say now. So he's been a little bit more active in that regard. With that, I don't see a concern with Matt taking over the position there as CEO. I think it actually might be a good thing. But we'll see what the direction of the board is and his direction is going forward when we maybe find out more details going forward here. All right, let's see. SCHULTZ continues here. My focus stepping in as CEO is to ensure stability, continuity, and forward momentum during this time and to support the team and our board as we continue to execute as a market leader, as we have continued to grow. And then this is a part that kind of makes me think that maybe Zach was actually ousted here. The board believes that now is the right time for a change in leadership, right? The board believes right now. So it sounds like the board basically gave him maybe an ultimatum. Either you resign and you get your severance package, or we let you go and you get nothing, more or less, right? So there's got to be some kind of tension going on there with the board and the founders. And maybe there was some tension between the founders themselves. We don't know. We do know that when they had the conference call for their quarterly results, there was no live video feed of that, right? So we don't know what the interactions looked like between the different individuals. So we really don't know. We're all speculating right now as far as what's happening there. But continuing on here, as we look to fully capture opportunities available to Cleanspark, right? As we look to capture opportunities, so what other opportunities do they have for Cleanspark? Obviously, Bitcoin mining is a big portion of that. HODL is a big portion of that. And potentially, I'm speculating here, but potentially they could also look into being an HBCI play, potentially. They do have over 30 sites. I think it's 30 or 31 sites across the United States in 5 or 6 states. I can't remember now. I'm going off my memory there. Smaller sites, right? They're somewhere between 30 to like 200 megawatt sites, something like that. Could any of those sites be used for HPCI? I don't know. We would have to look at the locations of those. We would have to see if they have redundancies for at least internet, right? Power redundancies you can do. You just put in backup generators, right? But the big thing would be is do they have the space to do it? And then can they transition those into also directed chip liquid cooling? There's a possibility. I mean, it just depends if you have the space and the capital to do it. So the possibilities are there. Just which sites would be possible for that? We don't know. And I'm just speculating here right now as it is. Okay, so this is definitely going to be happening here. Well, it's definitely happened already. And then Cleanspark reaffirms its previously announced strategic plans and will report fiscal year 2025 full year results in November. So kind of what I figured, right? I mean, obviously they're still going to provide their results and they're still going to go forward with their strategic plans, getting to 60 plus exahash later on this year. But as a shareholder, what does that mean for me? For me, at least, it doesn't mean much, to be honest with you guys. Cleanspark's still going to be Cleanspark. Matthew, I think, was one of the guys that was spearheading this movement anyways into Bitcoin mining and the growth that they had. So I personally like Matt. Like I said, I've dealt with him. I think he might be a pretty good CEO. We'll see what he does going forward. And it's just a continuation on, and maybe there's going to be something interesting coming up here in the coming weeks. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe some HPCI plays. Who knows? Or something else. But we'll see. But right now, I'm not too worried about this. If it would have been totally different, I think, if they said that he's retiring or resigning, and then that they were looking for a new CEO. Then maybe at that point, I would think maybe there's some trouble there. Maybe. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm holding on right now as it is, right? With them getting to 60 exahash, I think that's good. They have a huge HODL position as it is as well. Their market cap right now is basically their assets on the book as it is. So, I mean, pretty undervalued in my opinion. So I'm going to hold on to it, and we'll see where we go by the end of the year. Okay? So that's my thoughts on it. Let's get into the rest of the stuff that we do have here. And let's see. Let's talk about Cango. Let's do Cango next, because Cango actually had a news release as well today. Cango acquires 50 megawatt Bitcoin mining facility in Georgia, laying groundwork for future energy strategy. We're hearing that a lot from these mining companies, energy strategies, future energy strategy, things like that. So today they announced the acquisition of a fully operational 50 megawatt mining facility in Georgia, USA, for a total cash consideration of $19.5 million. A pivotal step marking the company's transition into a diverse strategy that manages a robust portfolio of Bitcoin mining and energy infrastructure. Okay, so they basically paid around 390,000 per megawatt, which is kind of what you would expect, what the going rate is right now on Bitcoin mining sites. On average, more or less. Some sites you could get it to a little bit less than 300,000. Some you could probably pay a little bit more, depending on what's in them. So the good thing is at least they're kind of transitioning slowly from an asset light model where they don't own any infrastructure to now at least owning a portion of it. I'm not sure what portion of it is that they would own. We could possibly do the math on it as far as megawatts, and but it's also partially hosted there, so for somebody else. We'll talk about that here in a second. But this transaction represents Cango's first step to steadily increase its portfolio of owned and operated mining facilities. By selectively acquiring low-cost power operations, Cango aims to enhance operational efficiency, cost discipline, and long-term financial resilience, while establishing the foundation for a more advanced energy strategy in the future. This gives them more control, which is what you want in this space. You got to have control. If you don't have control in the space, you're going to be, in a world of hurt going forward. The facility has hosted Cango's miners under a third-party hosting agreement. Following this acquisition, Cango will allocate 30 megawatts to its self-mining operations and 20 megawatt to hosting services for third-party clients. So, I mean, that's not much, right? That's a very, very small portion. I mean, Cleanspark's at 50 exahash with the newer generation miners for the most part, and they are at, 800 megawatts, right? Cango is also at 50 megawatts now, and they have none other sites. So this 30 megawatts, if it's similar to the Cleanspark, 800 some odd megawatts, which I don't think it is. I think it's going to be probably a little bit higher because of the older machines that they have there. We're looking at maybe this being only, what would that be? Let's just say for comparison reasons, 1,000 megawatts that they have total for their compute on Bitcoin mining. 30 megawatts would be 3%, right? Am I doing the math correctly there? I think it would be like 3%. So it's not much, but at least it's a start. With this acquisition, Cango will begin developing an in-house operational expertise required for managing self-owned mining sites. They're definitely going to need that. And hopefully the people that are managing it there will stay on as they purchase it. As this infrastructure is put in place, Cango is also laying the strategic groundwork for a gradual pivot towards supplying energy for high-performance computing. Another one that's getting into HPC/AI. Further expanding the long-term potential of its sites beyond Bitcoin mining while leveraging operational and technical expertise developed in-house. Okay. Something that I heard from Mike Elfred was that the potential for less megawatts being allocated for Bitcoin mining would be a good thing for some Bitcoin miners, potentially Cleanspark, because at that point, the hash rate is possibly not going to grow as fast as we have seen historically, because you're taking all those megawatts that could be used for Bitcoin mining are going to be used for maybe HPC/AI workloads. So that might be good. Time will tell on that if that works out, but that kind of makes sense to me as well. Okay, we got that. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see what they come up with, but this is a good first step for them to kind of have a little bit more control over their own destiny, I guess, on this regard. Okay, so there's Cango. This is good to see. Next, we're going to get into CORZ here. CORZ obviously provided us with the quarterly results. This was back on Friday, I believe it was. It came out. Yeah, Friday. Obviously, I was traveling at that point and on vacation, so I wasn't able to comment on it on Friday. But I did pull in all the data here when I got home tonight. And we'll take a look at also their production update for July, which is based on the X post that they have there for daily production. So we'll use that for the results. But here's the quarterly results that we do have here for them. Total revenue was $78.6 million compared to $141 million in the second quarter of 2024. But largely down because of Bitcoin production being down, right? Digital asset self-mining revenue was $62.4 million, down from $110.7 million in the prior year. The decline was primarily driven by a 62% decrease in Bitcoin mined, partially offset by a 50% increase in the average Bitcoin price. Yeah, so the 62% decrease was mainly because of the halving event, and obviously them not improving their Bitcoin mining machines, the ASICs there. That lowered their production because of network hash rate continuing to increase, right? Digital assets hosted mining revenue was $5.6 million, down from $24.8 million in the same period a year ago. The decrease was driven by a continued strategic shift to our co-location business, right? So they're getting rid of some of their hosting customers there. Co-location, formerly HPC Hosting, so they changed the name on that. Hate it when companies do that. Revenue was $10.6 million, up from $5.5 million in the second quarter of 2024. The increase was due to the expansion of co-location operations in Denton, Texas, during the second quarter of 2025. So this is for CoreWeave there. Gross profit was $5 million compared to $38.8 million in the same period last year. Net loss was $936.8 million compared to $804.9 million in the prior year, primarily due to non-cash fair value adjustments of $910 million versus $796 million, respectively related to warrants and contingent value rates driven by an increase in stock price. Okay? Adjusted EBITDA was $21.5 million compared to $46 million for the prior period. And that's basically it, what you got going on here, right? We got the pending CoreWeave transaction as well. We'll see if that gets passed by the shareholders there. A lot of people are not in favor of it, so we'll see if that goes through or not. All right, let's take a look at the spreadsheet that we do have here for them really quick, and that is going to be right there, CORZ Scientific. We'll start off at the top. We'll work our way down on this. We'll go through the monthly update as well. So shares outstanding as reported here on the quarterly results was 305 million. Market cap is about 4.4 million. Current hash rate, I'm guessing, is 18.1. I probably should look through the quarterly result to see where they ended up the quarter at. That might help us get us down lower. So maybe I'll look at that tomorrow. I was just pressed for time today. Other than that, the performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been bad, right? 33% up from 12 weeks ago, 21 from 8 weeks ago, from 4 weeks ago they're up almost 8%, and last week they were up almost 14%. So not too bad, actually pretty better than probably some of the other miners here. Bitcoin production here down to 179.8. That's been decreasing ever since basically last year, right? They're not upgrading their ASIC miners, which is going to result in the Bitcoin produced decreasing as the network hash rate continues to increase. Revenue was up to 20.74 million there, so slight improvement on that. Hash difference stayed the same there. Hash rate, Bitcoin sold, we don't know, they don't report anymore. BTC per exahash efficiency came in at 9.93, pretty low there. So I think they're probably lower than the 18 exahash as it is right now. Okay, last 4 quarters revenue here. Q2 came in at 62.42. This is for Bitcoin mining only, not including the HPC or hosting part of the business. This current quarter that we're in right now, I'm estimating about 60.8, depending where Bitcoin goes. But right now, with the first month in of July, this is kind of where I'm looking at. Last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation went up to 104 million from 95 million there. Other metrics here, cost to mine 1 Bitcoin is up to 65,000 right now. That's pretty high, right? They got some old machines there. They need to, they're not going to do that because they're getting bought out by CoreWeave, so it doesn't really matter. Bitcoin mined quarterly has been coming down. Debt to equity, lower is better. They're still -2 because of the warrants. Current ratio, higher is better. It's been coming down as well, 1.78. Total current assets, about 1 billion there as it is right now. Total current liabilities, about 562 million. And then looking at the institution side of things here, institutions did increase over the month here to 450. The shares did increase as well to 267.37 million. And it's now owned 88.14% by institutions. We do have some analyst ratings that have been changed here from last time. We now have 6 strong buy ratings, 1 buy rating, 10 hold ratings. Price targets pretty much stayed the same here at Hive for $23. Average went up to $18.45, and the low stayed the same at $15 as it is. Okay, let's see here. For the Q2 numbers, I had them at 62.3 million. They came in at 62.4, so we're really close to that, off by 0.09%. Love seeing that. Miners here for July, we're operating approximately 19.45 days. So that's why I'm saying I think they're probably lower than the 18 exahash right now as it is, because historically they don't operate that bad. All right, going into their financials here, we'll take a look at some of these numbers here in a second. Assets, we talked about that as well. Total assets, 1.9 billion. That's an increase from the 1.6, so that's fine. Liabilities actually increased quite a bit here to 562 million from 195 million over the quarter. Big change in that, I think, was accrued expense and other, right? 180 million here. Accounts payable, also 215 million. And operating lease liabilities, 150 million. So definitely quite a big increase in those 3 right there. Total liabilities not subject to compromise was 3 billion. Total liabilities, 3 billion there as well. Let's see here. Total liabilities I can't speak right now. Contingently redeemable preferred stock and stockholders deficit. 1.9 billion there. Revenues, right? We talked about that a little bit here. Bitcoin mining was 62. Their HPC hosting was 5.6, and the co-location was 10, which I think they called it hosting revenue from customers. That probably should be, probably should put that up there. I think the 5.6 should probably go up there because they did switch it around, and this one should go up here. HPC hosting revenue. Now they're calling it co-location. So that's kind of what goofed me up here a little bit. Okay, but that's kind of what we got on that. If we look at the actual expenses on this stuff here, so cost of hosting services 4.5, right? Their hosting here was 5.6 revenue. So I mean, they barely made anything on that one. What else do we have here? Cost of HPC hosting 9.4 million, and they only got 10.5. So again, not very profitable right now. It should get more profitable as they get more megawatts online for CoreWeave and get servers installed for GPUs and things like that. And then the cost of digital asset mining was 59 million, and they only generate 62 million, right? So what is that? About 3 million in profit on that alone. And that's kind of where we got the gross profit of 5 million there for those things as it is. Going down here, big thing, general administrative went up quite a bit here, 56.9 million, but I think they're also including that now with sales and marketing and research and development in there. But even still from Q1, it still has definitely gone up by about 16 million. So that's pretty high. Pretty high increase there on that one. What else do we have here? Change in fair value of warrant and contingent. That was 909 million there. Talked about that already. So yeah, total loss was negative 4 cents per share. And they had an explanation on that. I didn't get a chance to take a look at that as it was. Okay, so they're still trying to get themselves out of that whole bankruptcy and warrants and everything else debacle out, and now they got to deal with the debacle with CoreWeave and the share price being lower than where it should be. We'll see if that vote goes through on the acquisition of CoreWeave, buying them out or not. But going over here, we can see that, let me see here. We talked about most of those things already. Price to book ratio, -4. Enterprise value, 4.4. EBITDA was negative 937 million. EV to EBITDA was negative 4.7. Revenue was 78 for the total. General administrative compensation was 56 million of that. So 72%. That's definitely way too high. But I understand that eventually, as more business comes in from CoreWeave, and if they don't get bought out, that's going to be, possibly a good thing there for them. Two things are going to have to happen, I think. Either CoreWeave's going to have to up the price that they're willing to pay for Core Scientific, or it's not going to go through. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of uproar about it right now as it is. So unless CoreWeave stock goes up, and then at that point, that might actually be pretty good for the Core Scientific holders there. But that's what we got on Core as it is right now. Right, they're now reporting their monthly operational update, so we don't know where their HODL is right now. We don't know quite a few things. It would be nice if they provided that and also provided their revenue on Bitcoin mining and on hosting and HPC co-location as well. But based on those numbers, I'm including some HPC revenue in there as well for them, which gets us to currently for July, stock price between 12.25 and 18.38, right? This was definitely on the higher end as far as where the price came in. The offer for CoreWeave to buy them out was around $20 or so, so we were pretty close to that as it was. If you look at the last 4 quarters, I probably should update this, which I didn't do. I'm just now remembering it. Let's see, current quarter that we just finished up here was this one that we're in, prior 3 quarters as well. If you look at that, let's see, where did that come in? We'll get a better estimate on it. All right, so somewhere between 664 and 996, right? So that's why we got to go sometimes a little bit more forward-looking on these things to get a better pricing on them. Other than that, I mean, there's not much I can talk about Core. We'll see if they get bought out. I mean, it's 50-50 right now, I think. But like I said, 2 things I think could happen. One, CoreWeave stock goes up, and then the shareholders in Core Scientific will be pleased with that. So that might actually work out. Or if it doesn't work that way, it might get renegotiated or something. We'll see. I think that would be better for the shareholders, obviously, of Core Scientific there. But okay, that's it for Core. All right, let's get into the last one that we do have here, which is going to be for Mara. Mara provided update as well today, a press release. So Mara and EDF Pulse Ventures signed investment agreement in subsidiary Action. I'm guessing how you pronounce it, Action, to expand Mara's global AI HPC capabilities. So today they announced the signing of an investment agreement allowing Mara to acquire 64% stake in Action, a subsidiary of EDF. The agreement provides Mara the option to increase its ownership in Action up to 75% by 2027. So I looked into EDF. There's not much information about them. They are a venture firm, basically. They invest in companies, but I couldn't find too much information. At least I couldn't find even the website for them. I did a quick Google search on it. Couldn't find nothing. I saw some sites that talk about or that provide information on venture funds. They had some information in there. It seems like they're based in London, if I'm not mistaken there. But that's all I could find on them. I did find some stuff on Action, actually. We'll take a look at their site here in a second. But Action develops and operates high-performance computing data centers and provides secure cloud and AI infrastructure in partnership with key players such as NVIDIA, Deloitte, and 2CRSI. Founded to provide secure, high-performance cloud solutions, Action meets the standards required by enterprise and public sector clients. After completion of the transaction, Mara would become a strategic shareholder, and Action would transition to a large-scale international commercial deployment. Okay, I'm not sure how that's going to happen. I mean, okay, they're going to be maybe part of Mara then. By integrating Action's platform, operations, and engineering expertise, Mara expects to expand its capabilities into AI HPC infrastructure development and better serve the growing demand for secure cloud solutions. Okay, that's all great. Going down here. Under the terms of the agreement, Mara would invest approximately $168 million in cash up front to acquire 64% stake in Action, with the opportunity to invest another approximately $127 million to acquire an additional 11% of Action, contingent upon certain milestones being met. The transaction is expected to close in or around Q4, subject to satisfying conditions precedent and obtaining the relevant regulatory approvals. Okay. Not much information here about Action as far as sites. How many megawatts do they have? Right? Yeah, I mean, I wish there was more information. I even looked on Action's website here, which is here. The only thing I could find on it was they have 4 data centers. Okay, how big are those data centers? 5 megawatts, 7 megawatts each, 30 megawatts each. Based on the performance that they have 1,250 GPUs, that would lead me to believe that's not that much megawatts right now as it is, right? They do have storage of 37 petabytes, availability 99.9, so that would be, what, tier 2? I believe that would be a tier 1, maybe a tier 1 or tier 2. Because usually you have 99.999 would be a tier 3, I think. Technical support 24/7. Okay, that's fine. What do they provide here? Well, complete ready-to-use offering, high-performance private infrastructure, enterprise AI PaaS, okay, open source orchestration and automation, okay, energy efficiency and responsible infrastructure. You can find more stuff about it. High-performance GPUs, integrated security, sustainability, custom cloud, but not much details as far as what they're operating, where they're operating, or anything like that. Let's see here about who we are. Pioneering this responsible digital services of tomorrow. Action and EDF subsidiary harness cutting-edge technology to provide eco-friendly digital services, specializing in high-performance computing, blockchain, and AI, to name but a few. They're also doing like staking. They help clients with staking as well, right? They got all these different things: Action staking, Action gateway network, diode, securing and controlling the flow of your data. Create and manage accurate digital replicas of physical assets. What else do we have here? Action data center, powerful hosting and computing capabilities close to our operations. Get started. I mean, you go to get started and it asks you to fill this stuff out. So not much information on them. So I wish there was more information on them to really dive into them to see what they're actually buying there. I mean, if they're buying $97 million for a 64% stake in them, right? Was it 168 million? For 64% stake, you would think that they would have to have at least, let's just say we're going by megawatt, right? Let's do this by megawatt. So if we do, let me pull my calculator here really quick. So let's just say 168 million, right? That gets us only 64% stake in it. So see, 127 would get us to 75%. So what are they being valued at there? Like close to $500 million. So let's see here, $500 million divided by, let's just say 10 million per megawatt, right? So that would get us to 50 megawatts. 50 megawatts potentially somewhere up there that they have. So they may have a couple sites that are 8, 10 megawatts, whatever it might be. And then if they're also getting the customers and the revenue from that side of things, okay. So it's just definitely a smaller player in this space, I guess. And again, I'd like to know more details as far as where the site's located, what's going on there, how many megawatts they have, customers, right? These guys, I don't believe are public, they're private, so it's hard to get information that way. But nonetheless, this does at least give Mara another little notch on their path to trying to get HPCI potentially deals going forward. This does give them a team. Not sure how good the team is there. We have to do some more research on it, but it does give them somebody that actually has some operational experience in, at least maybe smaller data set on sites as already. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see how this plays out for them. It's now just another entrant into this space. And it does, it seems like Mara has got their fingers in too many things at sometimes, right? They got Bitcoin mining, now they're getting to HPCI as well. Then they also have the 2-pick immersion cooling. They have their own boards that they're doing for certain mining machines as well. They have their own pool, then they also have the slipstream. It's like, maybe you need to focus a little bit better, right? One of the big things that Jobs, when he came into Apple after being fired and then being put back in as CEO, is he gutted the company of things that weren't core to Apple. Sometimes you just need to be a little bit more focused, I think. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong on this. But that's just my take on it. All right. So that is it for that. We talked about that already. And let's take a quick look at how the miners did over the past week, and we'll get into Q&A. We'll call it a day. I am wiped out. Like I said, I was driving for 10 hours today from Nashville. Not Nashville. We were in the Smoky Mountains, and that was a long drive. So happy to be back home, though. It's nice to get back to work. And let's get into miners versus Bitcoin here this past week. All right, so based on this, we're looking at how high the miners have come up from their 52-week lows and how far away they are from their 52-week highs. So top chart is obviously how far the miners have gone up from their 52-week lows. IREN here is up 260%. It is now outperforming Strategy. Strategy is only up 247%. Cango up 255%. But again, Cango was not a Bitcoin miner last year this time. They only became a miner back in basically December. So take that, with a little caveat there. Cypher up 155%, BitTier 132, Core 132 as well. Bitcoin's up 121%. Then we got Riot, Hive, Marathon, and Cleanspark here underperforming currently to the rest of the group there, along with Bitcoin. And you can see how far away the miners are in Bitcoin from their 52-week highs here. Bitcoin's pretty close to that. IREN's not too far away as well, right? Only 14% away. Strategy is 27%. Who's even CORZ probably closer even than that, 22%. And you got Hive like 62%. BitTier 53%. Cango 48%. Cleanspark 44%. And Marathon 49%. For last week, though, let's take a look at that really quick. We can see that IREN had a great week. It was up 20%, more or less. Core up 14, Cango up 12, Strategy up 8, BitTier up 4, Bitcoin up 3%. And then we got Hive being up 2, Riot flat, Marathon down 1%, Cleanspark down 4, Cypher being down 4. When we look at the 4 weeks, we got Bitcoin being down 1%. So we only have Core up 8%, and IREN being up 3% have outperformed Bitcoin on the 4-week time frame. Cango, Strategy, BitTier, Hive, Riot, Marathon, Cleanspark, and Cypher have definitely underperformed there by a large margin. But when we look at the 8 weeks, Bitcoin is up 13%. Now we start seeing some miners here outperform. IREN's up 88%, Core is up 21%. Riot's up at least a little bit over Bitcoin here, 14%. Cleanspark's up 8%, Cypher's up 28%. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miners that have underperformed. And then on the 12-week time frame, IREN again way outperforming here, Bitcoin and everybody else, up 119%. Bitcoin's up at that point only 9%. And we got Core being up 34% as well, so that's outperforming Bitcoin. Riot 21%, Cypher up 23%, and the rest have underperformed. Cango at least in line with a little bit higher than Bitcoin as well on that one. So that's it on that one. And yeah, we're seeing, I mean, last week, not the first week of, or the end of July was rough, right? This is that week that ended there. That was rough for the miners. This past week was a little bit more mixed here on them. But we've seen more green here, and I think depending where Bitcoin goes here later on this week, we might have a nice, maybe a nice green week for some of the miners at least on it. All right, so that's it. As always, spreadsheets available to my Patreon members. Link for that is down in the description if you want to join and help support what I do. Other than that, let's get into Q&A. We'll call it a day. We're going on already 41 minutes. All right, so as always, if you could preface the questions with a question mark, I'm going to work my way up as always on these questions. I will get to your question eventually. Just be patient, and I'm going to work my way down as always. And I see there's a lot of questions and comments already in here, so we're going to go through this. Try to get through this quickly. Let's see here. And for all you guys that came in early to the stream, and I didn't say hi to you guys because I was still getting stuff ready. Let's see. All right, what else here? All right, Jenpel says, are you worried that Zach let go and there is something not right with the company? I don't think there's nothing wrong with the company or nothing right with the company. Oh, I'm getting hot. I've been talking too much. Actually starting to sweat a little bit in here. I don't think that there is anything wrong with the company, right? We do have that possibility of the 185 million in tariffs potentially, right? That might be, it's a possibility. It doesn't mean that it's going to go through there. They're fighting it, right? So it may not go through. So that's the only thing I can think of right now. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I think more or less what it was, maybe it was just a little maybe strife in the company there between maybe Zach and Matt and the board, right? Maybe the board wanted to go in also in another direction as well to expand, not just in Bitcoin mining, where Zach maybe didn't want to do that. And then he maybe lost out the battle on that, unfortunately, right? So we'll see. I mean, I think if we do get any kind of signs from them in the coming weeks that they're hinting at HPCI or something like that, I think that might be the reason for it at that point. But we'll see. All right, let's see here. For your cycle, says the ones trashing Cleanspark last Thursday after earnings were 100% correct. I don't see how they were correct to trash it because for whatever reasons, you got to remember that Cleanspark outperformed all these guys here in 2024, and everybody else was calling all the other miners trash, right? Because they're not performing. So you got to be mindful of that as well. When the miner's not performing, it could be for a number of reasons, not because of the company is underperforming or anything like that, or they're making mistakes. It could be just rotation, cyclical, whatever the heck it might be. It's just, it is what it is. Sometimes the miners just get, beaten down until they get, beaten down to a point where then they start rallying up after that. We saw that with a couple of miners do that. So I'm still bullish on Cleanspark long term at least. Kai says something is definitely not right. All right. Dynamite Uber says, friendly reminder that both Zach and Matt sold shares at 24 before announcing the ATM the day after. Don't expect any change in management. Laughing my butt off. Yes, they did they did sell the shares at around $24. Their point was that it was basically pre-planned in advance, several months prior to the price getting to $24, and that was kind of like their trigger price, $24, and they got triggered. So, and then they probably had the ATM already running it, planning that in advance as well. So I'm giving them benefit on that. Was the timing great? No, timing definitely sucked. People definitely didn't like it. Okay, Sarmelon says, I hear Zach Bradford was forced to resign. I mean, I'm thinking the same thing based on that little note that they put in, in the press release, right? That little blurb there, board looking for a new direction, right? So that kind of made me think that he was forced to resign as well. Spin says they must have wanted him gone very badly, potentially. Jen Pell, hi. Okay, Andrea says he certainly did okay financially. Yeah, I mean, getting paid for another year and then getting your RSUs and everything else, yeah, I mean, where else in the world do you get that? Only in publicly traded companies, right? You guys that work in regular companies for either private or whatever, you're probably not getting that. You might get a severance package based on the amount of years you put in, right? So if you put in 52 years, you get 52 weeks, maybe. But for most of us, it's mostly like 10 years, 15 years or something like that. You'd get 15 weeks or something like that. That's basically it. Jen Pell says, I missed the opportunity to sell it at 24. I think a lot of people would say the same thing, right? When it got to 24, a lot of us probably, at hindsight, 2020, we probably should have sold at that point. Daryl, hello Sebastian, hope all is well. Just driving home from the cottage. We'll post some questions now and watch a video when I get home in 2 hours. Oh, all right, sounds good. Hope you have a safe drive. Let's see, beside this and the jet, sold it as birthday. Yeah, we talked about that. The jet, they say it makes sense for them. It's costs them less actually, so we'll see. Okay. Yep, talked about that. 4-year cycle, Zach Bradford's separation release agreement. Yeah, it's about 28 million roughly, and yeah, 14.4 Bitcoin. Nice separation package there. Andrea says, my largest holding, Cleanspark, is also pretty close to IREN when it comes to my holding positions over the last 2 years. All right, Simon says, Seb is still popping his popcorn. What else? Dynamite Uber. Question, when Zach jumps out of the Cleanspark jet, do you think he uses normal or golden parachute? I think that you could call that a golden parachute. 4-year cycle says the mining business is trash. I don't think it's trash. I think we've had some bad apples in the space take advantage and make themselves wealthy, more so than the shareholders. So I think there's maybe some taking advantage there. Okay. DeFi. He's got a question here. Are all the treasury companies sucking up the liquidity from miners? Seems like we can't catch a break. ETF and now treasury companies running like meme coins. Well, maybe some of the newer entrants, right? MicroStrategy is not really running right now, but some of the other entrants, yes, we've seen definitely those guys run up like crazy. And you can see that in the price action. I mean, the Ethereum price action, Ethereum treasury companies, they went 4 or 5x wherever, and then they came back down to reality. So they do get overhyped, I think. And they've come down definitely in that regard. Victor C. question, what's the MNEF or BMNR? I would have to update my spreadsheet. I don't have it open right now, so maybe we'll look at that tomorrow where that is. All right. Daryl, question, have you lost faith in the miners yet, or do you still believe they will bounce higher than Bitcoin by the 3rd week of September? I don't know if it's going to be by the 3rd week of September. I'm thinking by the end of the year here. I'm still thinking it's going to be an extended cycle with Bitcoin, which I believe is going to be good for the miners. I could be wrong, but I believe it's going to be good. So I still think that the miners could do very well. I haven't lost faith, right? IREN is doing great, but then again, IREN I think is doing great because of the HPCI potential there. But nonetheless, they get to 50 exahash. They're profitable. They're doing the right things. So is it something that can be emulated? Yeah, others should be following that kind of example there. All right. Daryl's got a question here. Which miner is currently the most undervalued, Cleanspark or Hive? Oh, gosh. Oh, I would still probably think it's Hive there, but let me check. If we look at what can I look at? Maybe the enterprise metrics on these guys. Where is that at? Hold on. Let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah, based on the numbers I'm seeing here, it still looks like Hive. So here's the spreadsheet that I use on that. Cleanspark right now with current hash rate is about 40 million per exahash, whereas Hive is 22 million. And then for future hash rate, Hive is at 13, Cleanspark is at 34 on that one. But then again, we need to see where Hive comes in with their costs and everything else for mining. Have those costs been coming down for them as they get more hash rate installed? So we'll see that probably when they report maybe this quarter, since they have more hash rate installed, maybe even the 2nd quarter. We'll see on that one. But it should be improving. We want to see an improvement in price there as well and cost to mine. All right, talked about that. Roger, all right. Question, BTC is pushing all-time high again in the heart of price discovery. Things are getting frothy. As BTC reaches 190,000, Cleanspark at 10, what's your next move? Sell. At that point, I'll sell. The then I know it's not moving, right? But then again, yeah, I'll sell at that point. If it's at $10 and Bitcoin's at 180,000, I'll sell. At that point, I'm done. And I'll be probably done with all these guys if they haven't moved at all. But at least I'll still be roughly at 100% profit at that point, if it's still at that same point. All right, Daryl says, I will continue to buy these manipulated, shorted miners, Cleanspark, Riot, Mar, IREN, and Hive until the end of the month, but I am starting to load up on my alts as well, Solana and XRP. Okay, very nice. Okay. Let's see. Cycle says, on Jesse's Market Open today, he was trashing miners, explaining how they're bad investments. Go watch it. Yeah, Jesse has changed his tune on those guys. He's gone more after the treasury companies. I've seen that as well. All right, Andrea, anxious to hear what you say about Cleanspark. Okay, we covered that already. All right. Daryl, again, BTC 150,000+ by September 22nd. All good miners should outpace BTC from here. But I'm starting to get a little concerned with the market's perspective and manipulation of the miners. We've been a little concerned with it for probably a good year now. The miners haven't been performing nowhere near what we thought they would do. But maybe that gets corrected here in the next 6 months or 5 months, whatever it might be. We'll see. Let's see. Roger says, I picked up some BMNR Ethereum. Tom Lee at 40. Not bad. Not bad at all. No. Having Tom Lee in there is huge. See, Sour says, bought a ton of Cleanspark today. I'll probably buy some if it dips a little bit more. If it dips a little bit more, I'll definitely buy. B-Side says it's undervalued. Sour says, very. More Tim, 27. Seb, heard the space with you, Ernie, and Mike Alfred. Tyler Page from Cypher sounded really good. Yeah, definitely. I think they are also one of the, I'd like to see them lower their costs when it comes to Bitcoin mining and just their overall overhead operations. But I think getting to the 23 exahash, whatever they're going to get to, that should help out. But I think they're going to grow more. And then if they can, land an HPCI deal, whether it's with a hyperscaler or some of these smaller tenants as well, that should help out. But right now, their general administrative overhead is, in my opinion, too high. They need to reach a certain scale, whether it's going to be through Bitcoin mining operations or through HPCI, to help cover those costs. And that might take another year to 2 years for that to happen. We'll see. Maybe faster. Okay. Let's see. Andra says, the gap is filled with Bitcoin went down from 122 to 118. You said gap was 118, 42. Yeah, but that's on the CME futures gap. We need to get that filled in, right? Let's see, Bitcoin USD. Bitcoin did come down, but at least on here, let's see, let's go back here. All right, so Bitcoin, you're right. Bitcoin did go down to 118,005, depending on when was that, though? Was that, see, that's the hard part. When was that done? 118. Well, that was filled, let's see here, at 445. Yeah, so, maybe it did get filled. On here I'm seeing that it didn't get filled. Let me see if we can see this. There's a gap right there. Okay, so on the 50-minute chart we can see a little better here. So there's a gap, right? Is that the old gap there that we had? When is this from? Monday. Yeah, this is all from Monday here. Yeah, so the gap is basically from here, I think, more or less. 118,370 to 119, 125 or something like that. So it doesn't look on the CME futures that it got filled here. So, but we'll see. We'll see if it gets filled. I think it might get filled in the next couple of days. All right, let's go back. Okay. Let's see. Andre says undervalued and not diluting. Talking about Cleanspark there. Yep. Andre says, too much share-based compensation and bonuses is basically legal stealing from investors. Legal but unethical when the stock is performing like garbage and retail and shareholders losing money too long. Yeah, I would agree with you, right? To a certain extent there. It's not illegal, but the optic of it is not great. I'll just leave it at that. right? I think they should be definitely paid well, but maybe they're getting paid way too much. All right. Hey Gary. Cleanspark was down big on Friday after earnings, same as MSTR, Riot, and Mara after earnings. Market hates FASB, but always some few after hours, then killed when market opens. Yeah? Okay. Mark says, my birthday today. Well, happy birthday to you. Thank you so much for coming in on your birthday. I have a large Cleanspark option position that instead of making money from 5,000 BTC rise, got smoked. Appreciate for sure. Yeah. Well, I hope you have a better birthday than that. Let's see. Anyway, good news. There is a new spot open on the Cleanspark Jet. It could be yours, Seb. Maybe they could offer me a vice chair position or something. No, I'm kidding. I would never take it. Question from John Smith. Hi, Seb. With Trump's recent attack on renewable energy, do you think this will affect IREN's profitability and stock price? Well, IREN gets a lot of their energy from solar and wind in Texas, right? And the rest of it is probably natural gas, some form of nuclear, I'm guessing also, and maybe coal in there. I don't know what the mix of it is right now. And Trump should be in favor of all electricity. Doesn't matter if it's renewable or not. We need as much electricity as we can have in the United States here if we want to keep up with China and be a dominant force in AI. We're going to need a heck of a lot more megawatts. So I think he's maybe being a little too short-sighted and, pandering to his base maybe too much, to drill, baby, drill, right? Okay. Okay. All right. B-Side's got a question here. You think Cleanspark made the right decision by focusing exclusively on mining? I don't see any expansions announced yet. Well, I mean, it depends on how it's going to play out, right? Let's just say that they do stick with just Bitcoin mining. They're going to be the only Bitcoin miner left that's public, basically, because I think everybody else has gone to HPCI as well. So if Bitcoin does run quite nicely here, and if those megawatts that would have been used for Bitcoin mining are now being used by the HPCI plays, right, or they're at least holding on to them, they're not using them for Bitcoin mining, that might help lower the rate at which network hash rate goes, which then could bode well for the miner that is like pure play potentially. Because the network hash rate is not going to go up as fast, but if Bitcoin goes up much faster, they're going to be profitable a lot more. Could that be beneficial? Maybe. I don't know. And then if we have an extended cycle as well, what happens? Bitcoin goes to 300,000 next year sometime. Network hash rate only goes to maybe 1,200 exahash by the end of next year because so much of the megawatts are being used, not maybe being used up, but maybe being held for HPCI workloads. And it's tougher to get megawatts for Bitcoin mining. But, that's going to be really good for a company like Cleanspark or others that are just still Bitcoin mining. I mean, IREN too as well, because Mara should benefit greatly from that as well. So it's just not them, but I don't know if they're going to get any kind of premium because of it. Yeah, I really don't know on that one. But would it be nice? Yeah, it'd be nice if they got a little bit of a premium on it. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, yeah. And there's been also talk about it where it might be at a certain point where Bitcoin mining might be more profitable than HPCI, right? What that point is, whether it's Bitcoin being at 135,000, 150,000, or whatever it might be, at certain points, Bitcoin mining could be more profitable than HPCI. All right, Mortim says, sold my Cleanspark also for more Cypher and IREN almost the moment I read about the firing. Too unstable. Okay, yeah. John Smith's got a question here. Hi, Seb. With Trump's recent... Okay, we talked about that already. Let's see. Andrea says the red highlighted line says it all. Yeah, that was this line over here for Cleanspark. That was this one. The board believes that now is the right time for a change in leadership, right? So I think he was ousted. I think, I could be wrong on that, but that little sentence there kind of maybe says it all. Okay, let's go back. Where do I want to go? Back here. Let's see. Andre says Cleanspark is the only run for insiders to live the good life off the shares-based compensation and bonuses and high salaries, flying around private jets and eating only at Michelin restaurants. Well, they're not the only ones. There's other companies that actually got more stock-based compensation and pay and everything else. So they're not the only ones. But based on their operations, they're kind of percentage-wise is pretty low actually, or lower than others. All right. Gary says, few, if any, of Cleanspark's sites are good for HPCI, so they don't have right fit. Some other miners, same as Mara, will mine as HPC AI, not an option, really. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the sites directly. I don't know, right, where's the fiber? Do they have redundancies in fiber? They would have to have an assessment, or they may know that already as it is. So they might have a better feel for it than we do. We can all speculate on it, but I mean, the nice thing is they do have the 31 sites all over the place. Could a couple of those be potential? Maybe. You know, the probability is higher there. See, Midway 1, let's see here. If you have 100 megawatt of power and want to fill it entirely with new 12 joules per terahash S21H hydros, how many exahash would you have? Do you have a spreadsheet calculator for thing for this? Yes, I do. Let me see if I can pull it up. So we can run the math on it really quick here. Let me see here. Let's see, open recent. Is it open one of those recent? Mining calculator, there we go. Okay, it's mining profitability. Don't care about that. Profitability. Watts to hash rate. Okay, so let's see here. You said it was, let me pull that back up so I can have it up here really quick. All right, so you're saying 100 megawatt site, okay, and you're operating at 12 joules per terahash, 473 terahash. Okay, 473. Let me see, where's it at? 473, and 5676 watts per miner. 5.6, and you got 100 megawatts, 0.01 megawatts, 100 megawatts. Okay, there we go. All right, so here we go. It is there. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this. So if you got 100 megawatts, right, 5.6 kilowatts per hour per miner, basically, kilowatt hour, total number of miners you could have is 17,857. Those are the 473 terahash miners. You would have approximately 8.4 exahash, 8.45 exahash at that point. Cost per terahash, if it's at $18, it would cost you about 152 million, more or less, somewhere around there. So 8.45 exahash is what you would have, roughly. Okay, going back here. Okay, let's see. B-side question, or maybe it's pressure from the board, like Riot, who were forced towards HPCI and then to sell their Bitfarms share. Has the Cleanspark changed? No, they have not changed. So it wasn't the board. For Riot, it was actually an activist investor, or maybe even two in there that got on with the, I don't know how much they have in there, 3%, 5%, whatever they have. So it's based on that, not the board itself. Okay, Gary's got a question here. Seb, I'm shocked. I'm blocked, but wondering if you can do a health check on Crypto Klepto after the Mara announcement of hiring someone to move to the HPCI space and become a fiat miner. Yeah, I haven't seen anything from him recently. I haven't been blocked by him. I haven't seen any posts from him about that today. But I've been out driving as well, so I'm out of the loop on a lot of stuff here today. Let's see here. DEFCON 2. In interviews, Matt SCHULTZ is always very adamant that Cleanspark will be a pure play miner, so I don't see Cleanspark changing course. If anything, maybe Bradford was the one wanting to pivot. That could be the case also, right? But I think him being the chairman, whatever direction the company was going with, Zach being the CEO there, he was basically espousing the values of Cleanspark at that time, right? Those can change. But why would the board want to let go of Zach if that was the way that they wanted to go? Unless he wanted to go into HPCI as well and the board didn't. Maybe that's the case. So it could be either way. But if they do announce something in the coming weeks or coming months that they're getting into HPCI, well, you know that wasn't the case. We can kind of reduce that possibility. Let's see. Mark says, I saw the MACD on the daily chart overdue to move positive. That combined with the higher average BTC price made me call for the weekend rise since Wednesday last week. Made the call, Cleanspark, not kind. Okay, yeah. Mortip says, I think Trump and the Trump organization guarantee a super cycle. Trump is not in Bitcoin and crypto to not just make 50 to 100% get real. Okay. Roger says, sounds like Bitfarms fiasco. Yeah, I mean, that was more based on the location of where they're mining, right? With Bitfarms. The prior board, it was basically the board wanted to go into Latin America, where maybe the prior CEO wanted to go in a different direction, I think. So, right? We really don't ever know what happened on the inside there. B-side asks, question, what is Cleanspark's target in terms of total exahash for the next 2 well, we don't know. To be honest, I know for the current year, it's 60 plus. We know that Mara is set at 75 exahash and IREN is stopped at 50 exahash. What are Cleanspark's plans? Cleanspark plans are to get to 60 exahash plus by the end of the year here. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. Gary says, Cleanspark won't miss Matt. They still have his 30 million retirement to remember him by for the next year. It's not Matt. It's Zach that's leaving. Zach is the one that's being ousted. Okay. All right. Denver says, question, if you're a Cleanspark director and you get 5.6 million for a negative EPS quarter, what would you spend on that money? Okay, that's a nice little hit there. Let's see here. Mark, I had a big position last year in Bitfarms 3 weeks before Murphy was fired. LOL, back-to-back nuclear picks. They created a hole instead of gains. At least I've done well otherwise. Okay, very nice. B-side, do you know if Cleanspark is going to build an air-cooled data center in Mountain City, Tennessee? There was petition. It's going to make a lot of noise. No, they're looking to do, from my understanding, is they're looking to do an immersion cooling. So that's much quieter. That's, I think, equivalent to like street noise. But that's just kind of what I've read in the newspaper there, I think, is what Cleanspark was quoted as saying. I believe it's for immersion cooling. Okay. Andre says, Cleanspark going back to $70. If it goes back to that, I'll probably be buying. Simon says, I should start a BTC mining company and give myself 40 million. Well, you don't get 40 million right off the bat. You got to have, obviously, backers. You got to have land. You got to have power connections, all that stuff. That all takes time. What else? All right, Mama Duo, I think that's how you say it. If I'm mispronouncing that, apologize. How can they give a package of 28 million, almost half a Bitcoin monthly production for someone who resigned? That's the compensation package that you would see at a publicly traded company. It's not just them, it's for others as well. Okay. Gary, question. Not sure those petitions work well on the semi-trailer box. Grandland, Texas, Mara site has never been addressed for health concerns. Petitions for the semi-trailer box? Are you talking about the cargo containers, basically? I think that's what we're talking about there. Yeah, the health concerns, I mean, I feel for those people, right? The noise, if it's that bad, it's that bad. They should definitely do something for those people that live by, make them right. Let's see. Talked about that. Okay, let's see. Cleanspark building tomorrow, but then using the spark to burn the shareholders' value in the ground. Ouch. All right. Okay. Gary says, question, Rex Finance predicted $500 for Cleanspark in bear market. Price predictions don't mean much for some. Did he really think it was going to go to $500? I think the highest I ever had them was between $60 and $70, right? If things worked out well. They didn't work out that way, at least not yet. Daniel, Question Seb, Cleanspark better do something for their investors ASAP. No, I agree. No matter what you think about their execution, if I told you a year ago that BTC 120,000 Cleanspark would be under 20, unacceptable. Yep, I agree with you. They need to come out with something, right? Matt's got to come out, and he's got to get like on a presser. Go to all these, YouTube sites, Anthony Bryce, get on there, talk to them, talk to others, talk to Ernest as well. Talk to just in general, put out a press release, do something. What are his plans? What are they doing? But I agree, more is always better. Hard Knocks, Seb, you have the Canadian price for Galaxy instead of the NASDAQ quote in your Excel. Okay, what is the ticker symbol for Galaxy for the US one? I'll fix it if I know what it is. Let's see. B-side says, or question, Rex said he was okay with Cleanspark being a pure play because it would give them more Bitcoin mining for themselves. But is it true their exahash total is no higher than IREN? Correct. Right now they're both at 50 exahash, right? So they get the same amount, right? But if they continue to grow to like 60 exahash, like they're planning to by the end of the year, and then if they continue to grow past that into next year as well, they're going to get more, right? As they grow, they'll get more. IREN and others will get less, but that's okay if Bitcoin price is going up. Because even if you get less Bitcoin price going up in Bitcoin, you still make more. So there's many different little levers you can pull on with Bitcoin to be very, very profitable. You don't need just one, you need a couple of them sometimes. Let's see what else. All right. B-side, in your opinion, why does the global hash rate stall between 1.1 zettahash and 700 exahash? Well, we've seen obviously on a daily chart, right? You're talking about that. Right now, I like to look at the 30-day chart to really see that kind of smooth out a little bit, because you do have at times where it does peak at 1.1 zettahash or 1,100 exahash, basically. Why that is, I mean, it could be weather related, it could be price related on Bitcoin, it could be related, any number of things, I guess, as to why that is. It's also calculated. It's not the exact amount, so it's calculated based on the number of blocks that have been won in a 24-hour period, I believe it is. So it's not like we know exactly where every single miner is plugged in and what they're running at. It's just calculation based on the block rewards being given out in 24 hours, basically. Hard Knock says, to be honest, I think Cleanspark is way more undervalued than IREN, and I have both. Currently, I think Cleanspark is more undervalued than IREN. I would agree with you there. Okay, Gary's got a question here. Seb, excluding the China miner ban, have we ever had a long period where difficulty didn't rise? Typically, I'm trying to think, a long run where difficulty didn't rise. We usually have it after the halving events. For at least a couple months, we'll see that, where difficulty will actually go down, because a lot of the older generation miners are being unplugged at that point, so we see it at that time. Other than that, I don't think I've seen, I don't really track it, but I know that after halvings, usually comes down for a couple months. Okay. Chuck says, Matt is an energy guy. Maybe Cleanspark needs more energy expertise moving forward. That could be it too. Let's see here. I'm Sofa King Degen. When Lambo? Never a Lambo for me. No. And so the plan is to reinvest it and make even more money. Not to buy a Lambo and just lose money on that. It's kind of like buying some of these stocks here. B-side, do you think the CoreWeave earnings results will be good? Tomorrow I expect a negative number in terms of EPS. Their debt is gigantic at a rate of 10 to 14%. We know that they have a bunch of customers lined up for their sites to be up and running. I don't know what that number is. So if they do have good numbers, it might pop at that point. It's definitely been like it's been a high performer here this year with the IPO. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. Hardknock says Cleanspark has the 9th biggest HODL of all public companies. Yeah, but the HODL companies aren't getting valued on that. If they are, they're getting just a portion of it. To be honest, I mean, Cleanspark has, what is it, Mara actually. Mara's got like almost 90 some odd percent of their market cap is their HODL value. What about their operations inside of things? It's just some stuff that doesn't make any sense. Okay, Gary, with large losses and having to pay a severance package, do you expect Cleanspark to either sell some shares or sell more Bitcoin this quarter? They're going to be selling more Bitcoin, I think. Well, unless that changes. I mean, with Zach at the helm, it was not to dilute, right? We'll see what path Matt takes. It could change. All right, let's see. Hard Knocks, great move by Mara about getting that little HPCI company there. I think it's a good step. All right, B-side, thanks for the answers. I expect Bitcoin to be 1 million on this cycle, which should be extended. I mean, boy, you're talking about 1 million, so that would be before the next halving event, which is roughly, what, 2 3/4 years away now? Roughly, right? Am I doing that? Yeah, 2 3/4 years away. I would love to see that happen. And if it did happen, I'd buy you a nice wine, I guess. Maybe, hopefully you're old enough. Let's see. Okay. Question: when Griffin and NASDAQ ABTC? I think they filed the paperwork, right? Or they're filing the paperwork with NASDAQ. I haven't seen the date for it, but I haven't been looking very hard either. All right, Gary. Question: how will Mara be able to get an HPCI contract for the 35% sites that are hosted? Well, they won't be doing it for those, right? It'll be for the other sites they own, and then depending on those locations. But it's like everybody else. They gotta have the location. A lot of it is location. We'll see. Drago says Tomley is the man. BMNR. Yeah, BMNR is definitely doing really good because of him. Peter, Cleanspark strategy focusing on investing in financial markets. Not sure people trust them to be investment advisors. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about this trading desk. You're talking about the trading desk. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how that works out for them. They got a lot of Bitcoin. They might as well put it to some use, I guess, as long as they don't, lose it all, right? All right. B-side, do you think James Bond will find a good HPC contract at Panther Creek for Bitfarms? Oh, yeah, that's right. I thought you were making a joke, but you're right. James Bond is one of the people that they hired on there. I sure would hope so. Plus, they are working with, what is it, T5 or Q5? I can't remember the company. I think it's T5, which has, relationships with the hyperscalers. So maybe that can kind of get them there. Who knows? Andre says, I think it's getting more clear every day which Bitcoin mining company is the best in class, and that's obviously IREN. It is. Right now it is, yeah. And that's why I got into them. I mean, I was looking at them in 2022, as you guys know, probably. If you guys watch my streams, I've said it before. Probably would have gotten into them then if it wasn't for the special purpose vehicles that they had to give back to miners. So then after that, I waited to see how they rebound from that, and they rebounded, and I'm happy that I got into them. Excuse me. Let's see. B-side, is it Bitfarms earnings tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? Is it the, 12th? Might be tomorrow. I'm not sure. All right. Let's see. Are you bearish with BTC at 118,000? Seems like regular business to us. I'm not bearish. I'm bullish. I still think long term this cycle. Oh gosh. Excuse me. Longer term this year even, I think we're going to go up higher, 150,000 to 180, maybe even 200,000. That's kind of where I'm thinking there. BLM says all analyst forecasts are BS. Yeah, I mean, it's the best guess estimate, basically, at that point. Talked about that one. Retail volume worse than 2 years. Let's see. Question from Gary. Seb, have you become married to Cleanspark and not looking at things rationally? Things aren't great if forcing CEO out and nothing wrong in your view. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong, right? They got to get their costs down. The cost was high to mine, 5.6 cents per kilowatt hour in Q2 or their Q3. So that was high. Definitely like to see that under 5, preferably, right around 4, maybe even 3. I don't know if they're going to be able to get that. Growth has been great for them. What other things? I mean, they have a huge hodl position. It's just now, the stock obviously hasn't done well. I mean, what else? What do you see other than that? Obviously, not being EPS positive without the hodl. Would have loved to see that as well. So there's 2 things they got to fix. Excuse me, electricity cost and getting the EPS, obviously, without the hodl. If they do those things, I think we're doing pretty good here. But Matt's been with the company. Could they just have a disagreement among the ranks there? Maybe. Right, in the direction the company should go into. You're seeing everybody and their uncles getting into HPCAI, and their stock's kind of doing a lot better. The board starts thinking maybe we should get into HPCAI, and maybe like Zach didn't want to go, or maybe he did and the board didn't want to go. I don't know which way it worked out, but maybe it could be just as simple as that. Where's Cleanspark next support level? Let's take a look at Cleanspark here really quick on that. I mean, we're kind of like right, let me go to the daily chart. I mean, we're right there, right around, see, it looks like right around 990, 991, something like that. It's kind of the support there. We'll see if we can hold it. If not, our next support might be right around 920, 925, something like that. And then if we go below that, we're looking at roughly probably 860 or something like that. That's what I'm seeing here. Somewhere around there. All right, I gotta go through the questions a lot faster because we're going on already. Wow, we're going on an hour and something. Let's see. Okay, Hardknock says, I can remember when everyone was bashing and down on Palantir in the teens. Not me. Was adding a lot of Cleanspark today. Awesome. B-side says, question, do you realize that the pump of Bitcoin miners can be 1,000% in a month? I mean, was it that great in 2021? Was it? I don't think it was in a month. Okay. Odwin Nelson, Cleanspark, fastest path to HPCI, maybe an acquisition of Bitfarms. Wouldn't that be something? Mutual benefit for both companies. Based on where Bitfarms is valued at right now, I mean, yeah, I mean they got the coins to do it if they wanted to. That would be something. Let's see. B-side says, I've heard it through the grapevine that Bitfarms wasn't even at 21 exahash and 25. That is correct. They only got to 18 something, I think. 18, 19. Cypher will be 23 exahash, yep. Nick Lee says, bought more Cleanspark today. Awesome. Yeah, Bitfarms stalled out at 18, 19. That's the reason why I sold a bunch of shares back in November and December of last year. Ed, question regarding the CME gap. Bitcoin closed around 116,400 on Friday market hours and then opened at 119,000 on Monday night. Why isn't the gap considered to be between these two prices? Because it's not between those two prices when Bitcoin closes. It's when the futures gap closes. So whatever the futures were trading at the end of Friday and where they started out on Monday, basically. That's the gap. Let's see, Hardknock says, like Cypher a lot. Yeah, I like what they're doing. Let's see, Mr. X got a question here. Does Cleanspark produce their own energy or do they get some from the grid? They get everything from the grid. They don't produce anything. Sorry guys, my throat's starting to dry out on me. Christian here. Thanks for all you do, Seb. Any hope Cleanspark's price could finally take off? It feels like it's held down. It is held down. It's just been, it's been rough. We need clarity from them, right? They need to work on obviously getting their power costs lowered, and at that point it would help out tremendously here. But we need clarity. I think Matt's got to come out and do like a press event, to kind of say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going. We'll go from there. Let me see. M says Cleanspark board was probably upset with the price movement like the rest of us are. I'm thinking Zach convinced them to stay BTC miner only a while back and it didn't work out. Could be, right? Price action is one thing, right? Let's see, Ed, just a suggestion. I think if you shift the circle where you appear slightly to the left and enlarge it a bit, it would look better on the screen. Okay, I'll take that under advisement. Thank you. All right. Okay. Gary's got a question here. Public miners, only 30% of miners, with Cango owned by Bitmain and Bitdeer using own miners. I don't see difficulty dropping with countries now doing it as well. I'm not saying it's going to drop. I'm saying that it might not go up as fast, right? So if you got the big guys here, basically, well, we'll see where Mara ends up at. Mara's saying 75 exahash. Will they go beyond that if they have a potential for HPCI? But IREN's basically stopped at 50 exahash. Riot's going to 45 exahash, and they're stopping. Cypher's at 23 exahash, and they're stopping, right? So those guys, pretty large, sizable, they're kind of slowing down. So we might see, I'm pretty sure we're going to see the network hash rate still go up, but it won't be as fast or as high as we have seen historically, at least. That's kind of my thought on it. All right, bear with me trying to see if there's any questions. All right, Danny's got a question here. Didn't you say in the past that if BTC is above 100,000, Cleanspark is still at $10, then you would sell BTC at that point? You would feel something if is definitely wrong and wrong. I can confirm you said that. I did say that at, what was it, last year? I think it was, wasn't it? Something like that. I said something to that effect. That Bitcoin gets to 100,000 and Cleanspark's at $10, something like that. I did say that. But I've also seen the other miners not do as well. So I thought with Bitcoin going up to 200,000 that would propel the miners, not just Cleanspark itself, but the other ones as well. And we haven't seen that. The cycle historically would be over later this year, somewhere around October, November, maybe even December, if we look at historically. So I'm going to wait out a little bit longer to see where we end up at. We'll see where Bitcoin ends, whether it's going to be 150,000, 180,000, whatever it's going to be. And we'll see where the miners are at that point. And if the miners are still flat where they are right now, then yeah, we'll sell at the profits that we do have, move on to something else. Danny, so why are you still holding Cleanspark? Seriously, the reason I'm holding on to Cleanspark, maybe you're not referencing that to me, but maybe to somebody else. But the reason I'm holding on to it is I still think that they have potential, huge hodl position, 50 exahash going to 60 exahash, and we'll see if they get rewarded for it. I'm giving it a little bit more time. All right, Ed's got a question here, not BTC related. Which AI chatbot do you use the most or subscribe to, and why? Thanks. Okay, first one that I got into was XAI, right? Grok. That was the first one that I actually got a plan for, and that was mostly because I use X a lot anyway. So I'm like, I'll get the premium. You know, the premium package of what, $9 or $14 a month, whatever it was, $20, I can't remember now. I got that one at first, played around with that, definitely liked it, liked what it could do. And then when Gemini 3, was it 3.5 that came out? Gemini 3 or 3.5, I can't remember. I looked into that one and got that one as well, so I have two now. So I will check on Gemini, and I'll also check on the Grok to see where they compare on the two, just to kind of get a little bit of comparison between them, right? Because I don't want to be stuck in one, and ideally I probably want to use like a third one too if I could afford it, but I can't. So I'm using Grok and Gemini right now as it is, and I'll go, one's better at one thing than the other one is, and the other one's better at another thing, so I'll kind of use them both in that regard. Okay, let's see. Mama Do, IREN has 3 times the available power than Cleanspark. How is that possible? They got sites, right? They were buying up sites with the megawatts available to them. So, but those have to be built out, and they had to do the process of getting the approvals for those, right? For the interconnects and everything else. That takes time. The 2 gigawatts that they have available in, Clearwater, the first 1.4 gigawatts might be ready to go by sometime in 2026. The other 600 megawatts is going to be available in 2027 to start, building out that site there. I'm going to get it connected. So it takes time. All right, Mr. X, why is the mining BTC at all-time high for the miners? Why is mining BTC at all-time high for the miners? I'm not sure I understand the question. Mining BTC at all. I'm not sure why is mining BTC at all-time high for the miner. I'm not sure I get that question there. All right. B said, do you think Matt will buy back shares? Oh gosh, I do not want them to buy back shares. I don't want any of these guys to buy back shares. These guys are still in growth mode. You buy shares only when you have so much cash coming in and you got nothing else to do with it. You can't buy anybody else out. So that's the time when you buy back shares. These guys are not in that spot right now. All right, DFly, SBET or BMNR, which do you like at these levels? SBET seems undervalued, trading at NAV right now. Geez, I would go with BMNR because Tom Lee's in it. That's the main reason why I'd go with it. I think he's gonna, do whatever he can to get that thing going. Okay, question here, Mr. X. Why is mining BTC at all-time high in difficulty for the miners? With difficulty at all-time high, you can still mine it as long as the price is there for Bitcoin. It just depends on your economics there. Okay. We said also on the buyback, Bitfarms said they will buy back. How will they buy back if they don't have the money for it? Are they going to dilute to buy back? Yeah, I don't think they're going to dilute to buy back, but that's one of the questions that I had when I saw that, right? Is, okay, are they enough? Do they have enough cash flow to buy any shares back? And then if they did, how much could they actually buy back, right? So I'm saying that's a nice gesture that they put out that they are going to be buying back like 40 some odd million shares of their stock, potentially over the next year. But in reality, they might be able to buy back a couple $1 million of it. It just depends on what cash flows you have and how much cash you got. And right now they don't have that much. All right, besides, got a question here. Do you trust Ben Gagnon? He is the CEO and also member of the board. They didn't find anyone yet, SMH. Ben, I think I've talked to Ben a couple of times on X. He seems like he's a smart guy. I'll leave it at that. He is a smart guy. So as far as, do I trust him? I think he's doing the right things by the company, right? Moving the ship into more United States based. I think that was a good plan there. I wasn't personally happy with them not getting 21 exahash, but I can see why he's doing it, and maybe it'll work out for him. So we'll see. B said again, question Riot. Ben Gagnon is CEO and director of the board, and Riot sold a lot. Do you know the number? It's huge, like 165. Yeah, the loss part of it. I don't know what the loss is, but yeah, it's going to be a sizable loss for them. Gary says, Cleanspark with 32 sites is going to have hard time negotiating better energy costs with small towns getting benefits. Reason Energy has gone from 4 cents to 5.6 cents. This quarter will be lucky to hold rates. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. All right. Question, I will maybe buy Cleanspark if Matt is getting the boat on the right direction, sell the jet, okay? What do you think Matt should do? What would you do? I would come out there and just, talk about where I see us going forward as a company, what we're going to be doing. Here's what we're going to be possibly looking into. Just be open about it. If you're planning on getting to maybe HPCI, talk about it. If you're not even thinking about it, obviously talk about that. We're doing this. Here's what we're going to work on, right? Trying to lower our electricity, trying to improve our efficiencies, cut the fat out if we can. That's kind of what I would do. I know you need a certain number of people in there for the size of the organization and things like that. You need some more, governance and all that stuff. But if anybody else is not really needed, I hate to say it, but I would have to let them go just to make the company profitable. Okay. Has Cleanspark ever discussed creating their own power instead of using the power grid? I don't recall. I don't think they've ever talked about that. All right. Conservatively, where do you think Cleanspark should be trading at right now? Right now, I think they should be higher. I think they should be, closer to $20 at least. IREN should be higher at this point as well. Right? Right now they're not being valued very highly on. I think they're just being valued on the assets they have right now. So that's like really no growth potential for them at all, which doesn't make any sense to me. All right. Regarding buyback shares, why did Cleanspark buy back shares back in December? This was part of their convertible notes. That was Hut 8 did the same thing. Mara did the same thing, I believe. Riot did the same thing. IREN did the same thing. It was all part of that convertible notes that they have structured, where they buy back a certain percentage of the shares back. They do some call options, right, on it as well. So it's all part of that. That's the reason why. All right. I finally caught up to all you guys' questions here. So greatly appreciate you guys coming in for an hour and a half of me yapping. We'll see where things go tomorrow. I have no crystal ball. We'll see where Bitcoin's at. Tomorrow we'll see where the miners go as well. I'll try to get TerraWolf numbers in as well. And then anybody else that I have missed since I was gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm back to things on today. Okay? But that's it. Right? Patience. You got to be patient. I think we still have the best is still ahead of us, I think. But you got to be patient. It's going to be a bumpy ride as always. All right? Okay. Love you all. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you guys tomorrow.